All right, fourth time a charm. Hello guys, thanks for having me. My name is Kristofer Sommestad, I'm a CTO at Springworks. I will talk a little bit about how we improved our API workflow by starting to use Swagger and our Node stack. So just briefly, what we are doing at Springworks is that we are 30+ employees. Most of us have 10 or more years of experience. We're building ecosystems for connected cars. And the reason for everyone to do that is to actually create some value for end users, which is you and me and everyone who has a car, and make their life with cars simpler, basically. And we're launching our first official product this year with Telia Sense, which will be out in the market soon. Anyhow, so how to ensure that the API specs that we use actually do what they claim to do. So in our system, we have a lot of different web APIs because we connect cars and that generates a lot of valuable data. Someone needs to access that data, both us internally and others externally. So today we have 9 different REST APIs for different domains within our system that are being used. And the problem for us before was that we had a bunch of API documentation that we actually updated manually. So we just typed it into a README basically, and then you committed your code, created a PR, someone merged it, and then the documentations weren't correct because you had forgotten something or what have you. So that led to confusion and wasting of time, for example. Also, we didn't have any way to do proper protocol tests to see that our APIs actually work when the consumers were trying to use it. And that also led to us breaking implementations when we didn't want to. So we saw 2 possible paths ahead to fix this. One was to start annotating the code in our web server to actually use that to generate the documentation. And the other path was to break out the API spec to something different and use that to generate the documentation, but also parts of the code. And we chose the second option. So basically what we did was we took all of our API specs and we put them into Swagger specs, which is basically JSON, YAML, or JavaScript files that you compile. We also bundled that with fixtures for all of our API responses, where a fixture is basically a static response to one of our API requests. And what we can do with that is we can use tooling to actually generate the API documentation, which we did using a homemade NPM module. Then we could also generate routes to put in our happy web servers that we knew that the web server was actually using the routes from the API spec. And thirdly, we can also use that to create a static web server, which we also built the tooling for ourselves. And the good thing about the static web server is that you can actually use that to spin up a local host that actually responds to all of the requests as it was the actual API and using these static fixtures. So basically, we could start doing protocol tests from all of our clients, which was really helpful. And these modules are obviously open source at GitHub if you are interested in seeing them. So where we are today, so all of our API changes always made to the spec that we have and only to the spec, so you don't fiddle about with documentation. You just change the spec and then you run the test and verify that everything works and then success. And that means that the documentation is always correct. It's always the same as the one that's actually being used in the actual routing. And also the API is also always following the spec, which is, I mean, as long as our tests verify that it's working, we can all say that we are following the API specs that we have. And also, thirdly, what we have is now we have protocol tests from all of our apps and all of our other services, so we can always ensure that we haven't broken any dependencies. So if you roll out or try to roll out an API change that's breaking, we will notice because then some other service will scream about it in the continuous integration suite. And a bonus as well is that the Swagger spec makes it easier to share with others, external parties. For example, in our case, with parking companies or insurance companies or whoever we want to integrate with our APIs. I mean, basically, we think we're building fun and challenging products. We want to be more people. Feel free to come by to talk to us over here in the next room or just play our car game or whatever. So that's it. 45 seconds to go. Thanks.